Every once in a while, a game comes along that pulls you in and refuses to let go, whether it be wide open areas to explore or quests with stories that keep you invested. For me, one of those games is Fallout New Vegas. From time to time, I boot up a new playthrough and stroll through the Mojave looking for adventure. But after so many playthroughs, you start to feel like you've done it all. But what if you could take all sense of familiarity away and instead throw a wrench into the normal playstyle of the game? What if you could spice it up a bit? After a bit of trial and error, I managed to mod New Vegas, and today I'll be answering the question of can you beat Fallout New Vegas using a randomizer? We have a bit to cover, so let's jump into it.
So pay up.
We start as a local courier out doing a normal job, but someone gets wind of our heretic ways and decides that the best course of action is to remove our package along with our head. Awaking in a strange man's house, Doc Mitchell explains that he brought us back from the brink of death, and after giving myself a makeover, seeing what kind of skills I've been gifted, but not before robbing the man that had just saved me, and then taking a long BuzzFeed quiz, I was finally able to depart into the Mojave wasteland. Now, normally when you leave Doc Mitchell's house, you get given all the DLC weapons and a set of clothes, but with a randomizer, you have to hope that RNGesus is on your side. Luckily, I got a sniper rifle and some ammo to use for it. I would have to gather more weapons, but this would work for the time being. I made my way to Good Springs Saloon and already angered God with my existence. The sky began to change hues and blinded me when I tried to get a peek. It could have just been radiation, and seeing how easy Pete was in a rad suit, this made all the more sense. Finally making it into the saloon, I was greeted by Sunny Smiles and Cheyenne. Although Sunny had taken the job of being the town's bounty hunter, and Cheyenne was going through a phase that caused her to dye her hair once a week. Sunny, seeing I was in touch with the times, told me to meet her out back to show me how to use a gun. She gave me a pistol with ammo, but since I had just woken up from a mild coma, my aim wasn't the greatest. I swear, this never happens to me. After watching me struggle, Sunny asked me to accompany her and watch how a real woman handles a gun. I checked into the sky to see if God was still mad, and sure enough, my retinas were burned every time I thought about looking up. We made it to a gecko spot, and I was told to help clear them out, only I didn't expect a Yao Guai to come running at us. We killed it, but before it died, it waved hello to just say it was new to the neighborhood. Mr. House even made an early appearance, but didn't want to talk to me. After watching me gun down an old man, Sunny decided I could handle bigger threats now. So she asked for more help, and I followed, not knowing the horrors that awaited just up the road. I knew I was doomed the moment I saw Sunny get murdered while aiming down my scope. A death plot and a Cazador ran at me, and I started shooting wildly, hoping I could kill something, but that fight took less time than it did to write this sentence. The second attempt went better with the Cazador being taken out, but ultimately it ended the same because I underestimated a blind Deathclaw's speed and strength. This third time, I was determined to finish this quest. Sunny took the lead and I was going to shoot past her to take out the enemies from afar, but Vats had a different idea. You can't make this up. Both of my shots hit Sunny in the back of the head, killing her, and then I was jumped once again. I hate this quest. So after being resurrected a fourth time, I told Sunny to forget about it and went back to Good Springs. I went back to the saloon just as Trudy was arguing with someone and introduced myself. Found out they were just interested in a tax evader. I didn't see anything wrong with that, but Trudy convinced me to go talk with Ringo and take out the powder gangers instead. I figured going and having a chat with Ringo couldn't hurt. He gave the most paranoid greeting I've ever seen, and after realizing I wasn't here to collect his taxes, he told me what was going down. He said that the powder gangers were on their way to sack the town, and I would have to go and gather resistance to fight them off. I talked to all the main characters of the anime, and the battle for Good Springs could commence. We lined up and bullets began to fly, but I'm pretty sure I helped the wrong side. Shortly into the battle, the citizens of Good Springs started bombing the powder gangers. People got set on fire and bodies started flying through the air. Normally when you do this quest and side with Good Springs, you actually have to help them fight back. But after watching this one-sided massacre, I don't think I can ever side with them ever again. I received some caps and then headed to Prim, my old job headquarters, where they would have more info to point me in the right direction on my journey for revenge. Some random guy tried to harass me about some local bad guys, but after playing with a tumbleweed, I met those so-called bad guys. One had a super sick Hulk glove that I had to grab. I haven't seen those since 2003. I went into Vicky and Vance's casino to get the scoop on the town, but after being greeted by a skeleton with a human head telling me to rethink my plans, I figured I was in over my head. But the skeleton with a rocket launcher told me if I rescued the deputy from inside the next building, he could point me in the right direction. The Bison Hotel was wild. I pulled off some sick sniping montage clips and found the deputy. I freed him after he spilled the beans on my supposed killer, and we left the building together. Once outside, we parted ways with my new claw hand, and I wandered into the darkness towards Nipton. After what seemed like forever, I hiked all night and made my way to Nipton, but the town had been ransacked. Luckily, I had more than a helpful person that filled me into the situation. He had just won the lottery. After watching him disappear into the Mojave, I decided to investigate the town further, and once I saw people waiting to talk to me, I decided to intimidate them by cutting down some people stuck on sticks. The leader of the group wanted me to tell the tale of Nipton to everyone, especially those in Novak, the next town over. But the story was pretty boring, so I created a new one instead, by showing these degenerates that you don't leave the main character alive. After cutting down the motley crew that would be Caesar's Legion, I headed towards Novak, but the way there was full of enemies. So much so that I even got disintegrated at one point. But after resurrecting, I traveled on and finally saw the giant dinosaur in the distance. I found my way to the hotel and asked for any info on my would-be killer and got pointed to a certain Manny Vargas. Instead of waiting for morning to talk to him, I walked straight into his hotel room and demanded info. He told me he knew where to go to find my suspect, but wouldn't help me until I helped him. But I didn't have time for that, so I challenged him to a fist fight for the info instead.
Had enough?
I claimed my prize and checked his computer. Turns out my quarry was last seen at Boulder City with Great Khans, a tribe of the Mojave. On the way over, I got ambushed, but after cutting down the assassins, I scored some new clothes and continued onwards.
Radioed for reinforcement. No deaths.
However, when I arrived, it seemed that an active hostage situation was going down. I talked with one of the nearby commanders in charge, and because he had no other option, he let me in to talk about freeing the hostages. I'm not sure he made the right call, and RNGesus felt this way too as he turned the sky into a Trix yogurt flavor leading up to meeting with the Great Khans holed up inside the city. As soon as I walked in, I knew the NCR had made the wrong choice because the person holding the hostages was one of the men with Benny who had tried to kill me. We talked for a bit and I learned that Benny had gone to New Vegas, but seeing how I was on a mission to save people, I would finish my quest here first. I tried every option I could for everyone to walk away free, but I knew what had to be done. I sized up the soon-to-be victims and started attacking. There were only 2 of them inside, which made it super easy, but heading outside turned into another Good Springs massacre. The NCR, having heard the commotion, rushed in to aid me as I killed the Great Khans, but then tragedy struck. Since everyone was in random clothes, I couldn't tell the NCR apart from the Khans and struck down a soldier, causing the NCR to attack me. Bullets, explosives, and even a Gatling gun were used, but in the end, I was the only one standing. But having found the hostages were still alive, I let them go. I mean, that was my mission after all.
Man, I thought I was dead.
After patting myself on the back, seeing as no one else was alive to do so, I made my way outside Boulder City only to be attacked by more NCR troops. One survived, however, and this is crucial as they play a huge role in our story later on. But just as the violence settled, a gecko ran up to speak to me. He was a wise gecko, as he knew everything I did about Boulder City and Benny, and offered to buy me a drink in New Vegas. But before I could ask more questions, the gecko ran off towards the horizon. I missed that gecko. What came next was another long hike to Freeside without much to report. But literally 2 seconds into Freeside, I saw a kid being chased by a skeleton. This game never ceases to amaze me. I also found a young child doing a great Raider cosplay trying to sell me guns that were illegal, and another kid celebrating his birthday by running around half naked with dynamite. New Vegas is fucking crazy. I went to the gate leading into the main strip, but was rushed by one of the front gate bouncers and was told I was poor and a nobody. If I wanted in, I needed to score some dash or break in, but RNGesus changed the sky again. If I wanted money, I was gonna have to get it at any cost. So first I decided to head to the Atomic Wrangler, sell some stuff and try my hand at some blackjack with the locals. Throughout my travels I had acquired some different currencies and was able to get about 500 chips. After winning my first hand at blackjack, I thought this would be easy, but those chips may as well have been bubble money because I lost every single game after that. I reloaded to save and tried again and lost every hand again. I tried to take my frustration out on a gambling skeleton and quickly found out that the guards were packing weapons of mass destruction. I decided I'd have to cash out and find money another way.
Hey there.
I began to wander the outskirts of New Vegas and came across a spaceman with a rocket launcher willing to do business with me. I spent forever trying to find gun runners to offload some weapons I had, but found the Crimson Caravan Company instead. Ringo was there and paid me a whopping 11 caps for my service in Good Springs, but I needed more than that, and these people looked like they could do without some caps. I pulled out a Gatling laser gun and decided now would be the best time to test out some of the guns I had found along the way. The traitors put up a fight, getting in close and throwing explosives, but in retaliation I lured them into some perfectly placed astral charges. I think I did just about as much damage to myself as them, but in the end I got my caps and proved I wasn't poor to the super mutant guarding New Vegas. Upon finally arriving on the New Vegas Strip, my gecko friend had transformed into a robot and told me to visit the Tops and talk with his benefactor. But I had other plans first. One that required some planning and strategy. By strategy, I meant talking politely to the guy at the counter, and by planning, I meant trying not to die while they tried to take my weapons away, turning the casino into a free-for-all. After the smoke had cleared, I tracked down my quarry and did a sick flip off a balcony. I told him it was time to throw down and commenced to bully him into a corner. I checked his pockets for some sick loot, but all I found was his room key and a platinum chip. Maybe there was more loot in his room. I took the elevator upstairs, killed some sick dynamite guy with some ghost flesh in his pocket, and kicked in the door to Benny's room. Turns out he was keeping a Securitron slave in his closet. He told me his name was Yes Man and asked if I wanted to help him overthrow civilization as we knew it. How could I refuse? I made my way back to the Lucky 38 where I was originally guided by the Gecko at Boulder City and was allowed upstairs by a rat, only to stumble upon a Deathclaw consoling its giant pet mantis. I interrupted the Deathclaw, but then had Dominance asserted over me as it spoke down to me, calling me a shit postman. I told him, "No, you," and then he started rambling about how it was already his and blah blah blah. Fighting commenced, and to wound my pride once more, the Deathclaw did some sick dance move. This I couldn't allow. I broke into where the real Mr. House was and smacked him so hard my head started spinning. After dealing with the results of the best 1v1 in history, I started to head back to Yes Man to commence Phase 2 in taking over the world. On the way back, I passed by a skeleton wearing a top hat. He complimented me, which was a first for this game, but it didn't deter me from domination. I met back up with Yes Man and then we headed back to the Lucky 38 for Phase 3. I got stuck inside a Deathclaw, then after hooking Yes Man up to Mr. House's old system, he gave me a demonstration of the future. It was bleak, short, and straight to the point. It was almost like there was nothing there. Back upstairs, Yes Man gave me a hit list and told me that there wasn't room in New Vegas for any of the other tribes of the land. It was time to exterminate. First up was the Omertas at Gomara. The bouncer tried to take my weapons off me, but after politely refusing, I was attacked. Can you believe the kind of customer service here? After enjoying a barbecue that was set up in the main lobby, I left and decided to go somewhere more pristine. On the way out, Mr. Holdout tried to sell me some weapons, but judging by the way he was dressed, I didn't want to take a chance using his preferred holdout techniques. After declining his sale, I made my way to the White Glove Society, but RNGs has turned the sky blood red to signal bad things to come, so I decided to take a break at a motel first before the inevitable bloodshed. I was told upstairs was off limits, but after faking going to the bathroom, I headed upstairs for some downtime, only to be attacked by thugs. I went through some doors to see what the deal was and realized they had a whole train system here. That's pretty cool. Heading to the Ultralux, their bouncer made the same grave error the Omertas did. It wasn't long until the denizens were up in arms, or even missing some, but soon they saw the error of their ways and the fighting ceased, allowing me to finally ask about the organization. Mortimer used some fancy lingo that I couldn't understand, so I left to go meet with another tribe. Next up were the Boomers, a secluded group way out in the middle of nowhere. A man tried to warn me of their existence, but after a mad dash by some pointy rocks, I was soon face to face with them. They let me inside to speak with their leader, and things were looking pretty good when I said I didn't want to help, and she said I could leave. But when I tried to take some medical supplies for the injuries they gave me, that was the last straw. I fist fought Pearl and her underlings, but the rest of the Boomer tribe didn't seem to notice, so off I went, changing people's lives one death at a time. Then I came to Hidden Valley. There was supposed to be a tribe called the Brotherhood of Steel out here, but after digging through 2 bunkers, I was beginning to lose hope. It wasn't until I found a 3rd bunker that I finally met human contact. Once again, they fucked up and asked for my weapons, which I had become very attached to at this point, and fighting ensued. Nothing serious happened, but a tribe only made of 3 people is hardly a tribe, so crossing them off the hit list, I made my way to the next target. This time, I was on my way to meet with the Great Khans, but this story is more about the destination than the journey. On the way, I was ambushed by a rad Scorpion Queen shooting flares, a Bloatfly shooting bullets, and a Mr. Steel shooting plasma rounds. Upon arriving at a nearby tribal village, I found it was completely empty, no Khans in sight. So now I had to recalibrate my Pip-Boy and travel through the dark to find my targets. After wandering for a while, I came to the Great Khan camp. Only problem is, since the hostage situation in Boulder City went south, I had already met with the higher-ups and killed them. Talk about efficiency! Now that my hit list was complete, it was time to report back to Yes Man. On the way back, a Bloatfly told me the situation inside was safe. Yes Man congratulated me on my mission and told me to go override a nearby substation to make it easier for us to achieve supremacy. To get to my destination, I had to cross through a desert, so I decided to go in guns blazing, but I quickly bit off more than I could chew when I made the desert look like a Star Wars battle. I arrived at the power station and some randos told me if I wanted in, I wouldn't be allowed to join their cool kids club. I complied, only to hear them say that the president had been assassinated. If people out here are killing presidents, I'm proceeding with the original plan. I walked inside and every homie in the building woke up to tussle. I gently tucked them back into bed and overloaded the station. Running back to Yes Man to bring him out the end of the world, I was rushed by Illyrio asking what I needed. I was shocked as he came to me, and even when I tried to talk to him again, the conversation was much the same. I still don't know what that was about, but a Radroach told me that the violence was a no-go, so I left him alone. Upon talking with Yes Man, he informed me that we could finally begin the assault on the Hoover Dam and show the rest of the Mojave who the big dogs were. I signed my life away and was teleported to the battlefield. It was calm for a bit until the explosion started. I chased down some poor guy with a flare gun, then made my way up the highway. I arrived at the Hoover Dam Tower, went to the roof to get a better view of the area, and wouldn't you know it, the guy I saved from Boulder City was here, and even though we were on opposite sides, he allowed me to come and go as I please. Acts of kindness really do go a long way. Leaving my friend and returning to the mission at hand, I had to infiltrate this building and rig it to explode. Some guards tried to intimidate me with big words and guns, so I politely pushed them out of the way. I installed another override chip to make sure the explosion would work, but on my way to set off the bomb, I got ambushed in a hallway by partygoers settling a dispute. Once I recovered, I continued deeper into the facility and finally set off the explosives. With the battle coming to an end, I hurried outside and charged headfirst into whatever resistance was left. I found the last remaining obstacles and decided to put together a sniping montage, but a Centurion laughed at how little damage my bullets did. So I did the only logical thing and pushed him into a hole, never to be seen again. I had finally arrived at the last area, an encampment of Caesar's Legion, or whoever these guys were trying to cosplay. I became a horror movie villain at one point as I was over encumbered, but enemies kept trying to kill me. The sheer terror as you launch grenades at an unkillable man wielding a deathclaw hand is so hard to come by these days. The camp became a scene pulled straight from a slasher fic, but we could finally progress to the final confrontation. In a blinding display, General Lee Oliver arrived to tell me that he was the true villain all along. I told him it was time to kick rocks, but he said he was more of a can kind of guy. Explosions were going off, people got disintegrated, and then a Cazador chased down the last remaining NCR member. One more talk with Yes Man sealed the deal, and I beat Fallout New Vegas. This was a blast. Anytime you get to replay a game and feel like you're seeing it, this was a blast. Anytime you get to replay a game and feel like you're seeing everything for the first time is always great. I would encourage everyone to do this. This was more of a relaxed run this time, but for the next video we'll dive into something different. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know in the comments below, or if you have any recommendations. With that being said, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Supporting the